Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. The meeting will come to order. This hearing, I want to certainly thank our witnesses for coming today. We appreciate your being with us. Our hearing today focuses on improving recovery and full accounting of the POW MIA personnel from all past conflicts, which this committee, as you well know, has been tasked with overseeing. The subcommittee held an oversight hearing on the status of POW MIA activities on July 10, 2008. It was the first hearing the subcommittee held since October 1998, over 10 years ago. As I stated during the July hearing, while the subcommittee did not hold hearings in the intervening years, it has certainly not forgotten its oversight responsibility, nor has it been sitting idly by on this issue. Over the past several years, this committee has passed legislation focusing on ensuring the POW MIA effort remains a national priority and continues to receive sufficient funding to accomplish the mission. The subcommittee remains dedicated to the full accounting of all American prisoners of war and those missing in action. We owe it to their families, but most importantly, we owe it to the men and women who are currently serving in uniform. Today, we will hear testimony and discuss ways to improve the recovery and full accounting of those missing and bring them home to their families expeditiously as possible. We have two panels of witnesses for our hearing. And the first panel is comprised of members from a variety of organizations which all have a passionate interest in identifying and recovering our missing. All of the organizations have a wealth of knowledge. We really appreciate that. We know how long you have been working on these issues and how important and passionate you are about them. So we know how happy your wealth of knowledge and the experience that you have in matters of POW MIA recovery, and we're very happy that you could be here to provide us with your thoughts and your ideas on how to improve the process. So let me welcome here today, and let me just say before I introduce you that it looks like we're going to have a vote coming up shortly. We think we probably can hear from, well, if we can, if you're off to 3 minutes, we might be able to get through all of you, and we're going to do our best. Let me welcome Mr. Michael Wysong, Director of National Security and Foreign Affairs, Veterans of Foreign Affairs. Mr. Phil Riley will be on his way shortly. He's the Director of National Security and Foreign Relations of the American Legion. Ms. Ann Mills Griffiths, the Executive Director of the National League of Families of American Prisoners and Missing in Southeast Asia. Ms. Lisa Phillips, President of World War II Families for the Return of the Missing. Ms. Lynn O'Shea, Director of Research for the National Alliance of Families. Mr. Frank Metersky, the Washington Liaison for the Korea Cold War Families of the Missing. Ms. Robin Piacine, President of the Coalition of Families of Korean and Cold War POW MIAs, and Mr. Ron Broward, the POA MIA advocate. Our second panel, we were very pleased to have them participate also in July, will be the Honorable Charles Ray, Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for POW Missing Personnel Affairs, and Rear Admiral Donna Crisp, Commander Joint POW MIA for the Accounting Command. I want to welcome you all. And again, if you can give us your testimony in 3 minutes. Do you all have that information that we were hoping that you could do that? That's great. And we always make it a habit to come back and make sure that you've had a chance to say something that's really critical and important to you at the end. And Mr. Wilson, do you have any comments to add? And as you know, we're trying to rush through this a little bit.
Chairwoman Davis, and indeed, I appreciate your efforts that nobody's going to be cut short. Chairwoman Davis has been terrific about providing for time, and we'll be back. I want to begin by thanking the distinguished members of our two panels. We look forward to hearing your testimony and working with you to fulfill our commitment to our American heroes who are missing in action or prisoners of war. At the outset, I want to highlight some of the strategic themes outlined in the recent Personnel Accounting Community Strategy set up by the Defense Prisoner of War Missing Personnel Office, DPMO. The first theme is also a national priority. We as a government seek the fullest possible accounting of those Americans who become missing while supporting U.S. national objectives. The second theme is that we, both the executive and legislative branches, serve the interest of the missing individual. As a 31-year Army veteran, as the son of a World War II veteran, as the father of 4 sons currently serving in the military, I especially believe that every man and woman whom we send in harm's way in the service of the United States must be confident that our government will not leave them behind. When I look at what has been accomplished over the last 3 decades, I believe that America has met the mandates of those 2 themes for the 1,559 prisoners of war and missing personnel in action who have been identified from Vietnam, Korea, the Cold War, and World War II. However, we have neither fulfilled the requirements for the fullest possible accounting nor made good on the requirement to serve the interest of the missing individual for more than 84,000 people who remain unaccounted for from the 4 conflicts I have cited above. Under current policies, organization and structure, manning and funding, the personnel accounting agencies of the Department of Defense have made on average since 2000 76 identifications per year. That number of annual identifications is not consistent with a national priority of achieving the fullest possible accounting. Furthermore, if we do not do something to significantly increase the numbers of annual identifications, say, for example, by a factor of 3, 4, or 5, this will soon preclude the nation's ability to fully account for those 84,000 still missing or prisoners of war. We must do more as a nation to better serve those who have gone in harm's way with the implicit commitment by our government that we would not leave them behind. Before I close, I want to give special recognition to a witness on the second panel, Ambassador Charles Ray, Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for POW Missing Personnel Affairs. Ambassador Ray has served in this current capacity since September 2006 and will be returning to his duties at the State Department. This will be the last time he appears before this subcommittee. I want to extend my thanks for his service to this nation and for the contributions he has made to the effort of fully accounting for our POWs and missing personnel. Madam Chairwoman, I am pleased that you are holding this hearing in an effort to seek ideas on how to improve the personnel accounting process. I join you in welcoming our witnesses and look forward to their testimony.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Wysong, why don't you start? Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On behalf of the 2.2 million members of the Veterans of Foreign Wars, I want to thank you for the opportunity to share our views on this most important issue. The VFW has long been committed to achieving the fullest possible accounting for all military personnel still missing from all of our nation's wars. It has come to our attention once again that JPAC has been shortchanged in their budget by over $2 million, which will translate into curtailing operations. This points to a funding stream that flows from DOD through the Navy and then from U.S. Pacific Command to JPAC, which puts JPAC's mission in competition with war-fighting priorities. And when agencies are called upon to cut their budget, and that figure trickles down to JPAC, it equates to a disproportional mandate for a command with a relatively small budget. The VFW is not convinced that this is the best funding method for JPAC. Therefore, we suggest a fully funded, dedicated line item appropriation in the DOD budget and exempt JPAC from agency-mandated reductions. JPAC's mission is unique and, in our view, will be able to operate more efficiently and effectively under a direct and dedicated funding stream. Construction of a new JPAC facility, which was originally set to begin in FY 2010, has been delayed until FY 2011 because the Navy diverted construction monies to other priorities. It has also come to our attention that a Navy audit team recently recommended reducing the size of the facility by over 16,000 square feet. Such a reduction most likely will reduce laboratory space and have an adverse effect on identification efforts. The VFW believes this project should continue to be fully funded and remain on the present groundbreaking schedule without any further delays, and recommends the size of the new facility remain as originally designed. The Armed Forces DNA Identification Laboratory in Rockville, Maryland is essential, as we all know, to the JPAC mission. We are concerned that the BRAC process threatens to significantly delay the identification process because critical and timely decisions concerning facility and funding issues have yet to be made for the relocation move to Dover Air Force Base, Delaware. The VFW asks Congress to look into this matter and extract from DoD how this process is moving forward in a manner that will provide adequate facilities and minimize the delay in DNA analysis for identification of American remains. The U.S.-Russia Joint Commission on POW-MIA Affairs was established in 1992 at the presidential level to serve as a forum through which both nations can seek to determine the fate of their missing servicemen. In 2005, progress was halted when the Russian president reorganized its side of the commission. On the U.S. side, leaving the House Democrat Commissioner post vacant since January 2006 sends a message to the Russian government that this body is not interested in the workings of the commission. Your help is needed to convince Speaker Pelosi to appoint a qualified member of the House to actively serve as the Democrat commissioner. Madam Chair, in closing, I want to thank you and all the members of your committee for your interest, your oversight, your support of America's national priority of accounting for our missing service members. Your continued support will help to bring closure to the families of the missing who have been waiting so long for answers and their loved ones. You also send a very powerful message to those who serve in harm's way today, that they will not be left behind, that this nation will do all in its power to return them to their family. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. Mr. Riley, and welcome. We introduced you.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you.
Chairwoman Davis, members of the subcommittee. On behalf of the American Legion, we thank you for the honor and the opportunity to participate in this important hearing to examine ways for improving recovery and accounting of POW-MIAs from previous conflicts. The American Legion believes the following high-priority actions should be taken by the U.S. government. Continue to provide sufficient personnel and resources so that the investigative case efforts for conflicts from World War II forward can be broadened and accelerated. Continue to provide necessary personnel and resources so field operations can be conducted at a greater rate of activity. Continue to declassify all POW-MIA information except that revealing intelligence sources and methods in a form readily available for public view. Initiate or strengthen joint commissions with Russia, China, North Korea to increase POW research and recovery opportunities. Establish a joint standing congressional committee to ensure continued action by the executive branch in addressing the POW-MIA mission with requisite priority. The American Legion is concerned that POW-MIA mission is fading as a high national priority, and the federal government has not provided sufficient resources or attention to the POW-MIA issues. As a result, many in the veterans community and military family members are losing confidence in both the commitment and the ability of the federal government to resolve the fate of this nation's many unaccounted for service members. Along with disestablishment of the interagency group created to oversee the U.S. POW-MIA policy, lack of independent intelligence and analytical capability dedicated to the POW-MIA issue, and efforts to downsize and reorganize the Defense Missing Personnel Office when their workload is increasing, particularly with respect to Korean War initiatives and the opportunities that are now extant. All of these are clear examples of how the importance of this issue is eroding. The establishment of a joint standing committee is necessary to keep the promise to all past, current, and future service members and families that they will not feel that they are abandoned, and necessary to rekindle national interest and national will for this morally imperative mission. It has been over a decade since we have had close and comprehensive examination of our national POW-MIA policies and recovery requirements. The 2.6 million members of the American Legion urge you to establish a joint standing committee on POW and MIA affairs necessary to conduct a full and convincing investigation of all unresolved matters relating to any United States personnel unaccounted for from our conflicts, wars, Cold Wars, and Special Operations. We thank you for this honor to testify.
Thank you very much. Ms. Griffiths.
Well, thank you, Madam Chairwoman, and members of the committee for the opportunity to again appear before the committee. Due to the need for brevity, I'll ask my full statement be included. I just returned late yesterday from Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia on the umpteenth trip that I've been there. I'm writing a final report on that and would like to also include that in the record.
Thank you. All the testimony will be included in the record.
Okay. The proposals that were made in Hanoi were particularly interesting, and they were, I think, warrant serious consideration as the basis for increasing JPAC funding and personnel, full engagement and support for Stony Beach, the Defense Intelligence Agency's POWMI specialists, and if needed, to ensure continuing priority and focus, fencing of the budgets and manpower of both organizations. We will be bringing these proposals to the attention of the executive branch at the earliest opportunity. The first stems from Vietnam's proposal to expedite the pace and scope of investigations and excavations, stating clear but ambiguously their commitment to meet U.S. requirements for additional personnel and willingness to be flexible. The rationale had to do with growth and expansion, development, that could easily destroy incident sites. Early identification of these and other sites is crucial, regardless of JPAC's ability to schedule rapid excavations. Increasing the backlog on these sites is a good thing, not a negative, as sometimes portrayed. When questioned about specific numbers that will be allowed to come in, they responded, again, clearly, but noted that with additional commitment of personnel and funding, they would match the U.S., and with flexibility. Now, all senior U.S. officials, the ambassador, the defense attaché, the deputy chief of mission, and others were with us in all of our meetings and were most supportive. We don't have our own information to propose to the Vietnamese, so we get it all from the Defense POWMI office and JPAC. As to the validity of their commitments, I try to be optimistic, but time will tell, especially on the use of the USNS Heezen, the Navy vessel that was promised a long time ago and pledged again by the Prime Minister last June. In Laos, changes at the top in attitude and receptiveness to multifaceted engagement and cooperation were visible and welcome. The evolving relationship, including long-sought establishment and exchange of defense attachés, is very good for the U.S.-Laos bilateral relationship and POWMI in particular, something we fought for 12 years. They finally agreed, and it's now in place. A small increase in airlift funding in the case of Laos would expedite the effort as well. I'm not in a position to suggest a number of additional personnel that would be required. I do know an agreement with these gentlemen that JPAC funding is inadequate for the FY09 budget, and that doesn't even include operations for North Korea if that happens to open up. So an increase of at least 1/3 or 20+ million would likely be needed, with a plus up of forensics anthropologists and other scientific staff as necessary. We would also need more linguists and specialists from Defense Intelligence Agency's Stony Beach team to expedite in-country research and investigations. You'll be hearing from Ambassador Ray and Admiral Crisp. So they will have to consider this, but it's too soon to expect them to have an answer now. Our positions, I know I have to stop. Our positions on all the questions are in the full testimony that I provided, but I'd like to say that having Admiral Crisp as head of JPAC has been a blessing. It has helped tremendously improve the quality and the situation for their own employees, as well as operations. That and having Special Forces Detachment commanders have been real improvements.
Thank you very much. Ms. Phillips.
Madam Chairman and members of the committee, on behalf of the families and friends of over 78,000 World War II service personnel still missing in action, I thank you for this opportunity to speak today. With my deepest sincerity, I want to tell you that I really wish I wasn't here. Not that I wish I had not lost a relative in World War II, for we are proud of his service, nor does my wish to not be here stem from the fact that my uncle is one of the MIA from World War II. My wish comes from the fact that family groups such as World War II Families for the Returning of the Missing should not have to exist today. All relatives and friends of all U.S. MIAs should be confident that their government is working in an objective, fair, and determined manner to ensure the code of no one left behind is being adhered to with the utmost urgency and dedication. I thank you for trying to make this so. As a relative of World War II MIA and a member of a family support group that has, over the past 7 years, worked with thousands of MIA family members in every U.S. government agency involved, I kindly request that you consider the following 4 points. First, the 3 government organizations primarily responsible for the POW MIA recovery, Defense Prisoner of War, DPMO, Joint POW MIA Accounting Command, JPAC, and Military Service Casualty Offices are disjointed and do not effectively cooperate, often at times working against each other due to the lack of unity of one command. Turf wars and personality differences as well. While DPMO states they are the portal for all family members, they do not have control over the individual records. Service casualty controls the records. Nor do they have control over research and recovery. JPAC is in charge of the missions. A family member should not have to contact all 3 agencies individually just to receive a status on their case or to require records to conduct individual research. Secondly, the entire process of MIA recovery is politicized by personnel within the U.S. government overseeing the research and recovery efforts, as well as individuals belonging to certain groups. These alliances are well known in the MIA community, but so far have effectively impeded all efforts to improve efficiency or equity. Third, lack of congressional oversight enables this inefficiency and politicization. The system is unable to correct itself. There are too many people, too ingrained, to allow effective and needed change. Fourth, JPAC's manning and structure is inefficient, with an intelligence and research section of about 66 personnel. Only 5 are assigned to World War II, one of which just resigned. Likewise, hundreds and hundreds of MIAs go unidentified in the lab due to shortage of forensic anthropologists. Not only is retention a problem in a place such as Hawaii, but there appears to be a problem with priority of efforts. Forensic anthropologists are forced to split their time between field recoveries and lab identifications. Every U.S. service member, past and present, lives by the code "No One Left Behind." This code is much more than a code. It is a promise and an obligation from our government to those that have paid their ultimate price. We owe it to every service member and every family member, regardless of conflict, to uphold this code. I ask you to please remember this code, this promise, this obligation has no expiration date. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. O'Shea and I think we can do this if everybody's okay. We're going to run a little late getting over there. Go ahead, please. Thank you.
Today, we would like to address a specific aspect of the accounting effort. In far too many cases, fate determinations have been made in spite of evidence of wartime survival. These premature and often erroneous determinations were reached by dismissing evidence once deemed credible, resulting in searches for individuals at their lost locations in spite of evidence that the individuals were moved or being moved to another location. As part of the accounting effort, the National Alliance of Families fully supports House Resolution 111, calling for the formation of a House Select Committee on POW MIA affairs, and I would like to add we would definitely support the call for a joint standing committee. When the Senate Select Committee on POW MIA affairs issued their final report in 1993, they recommended their work continue. Unfortunately, that recommendation was not carried out, and committees such as this simply do not have the investigative staff or the resources to continue and expand on the work of the committee. Among the leads yet to be fully examined are numerous sightings of U.S. servicemen from World War II, Korea, and Cold War in the camps and prisons of the former Soviet Union. No less a figure than the commanding general of Soviet forces operating on the Korean Peninsula during the war years spoke of the transfer of U.S. POWs from North Korea to Moscow. Acknowledging such transfers have come from former U.S. and Soviet officials and defectors as well. All of this suggests that much more effort needs to be made before we can truly say we have accounted for our missing servicemen. We recognize the difficulties dealing with North Korea. However, a thorough review of contemporaneous U.S. documents relating to Korea and Cold War losses under the direction of a House committee will provide valuable information and new leads on the fate of many unaccounted-for servicemen. Searching for men at lost locations when contemporaneous documents indicate the men were captured will not lead to recovery. When these recovery operations fail, as they will, remains are then declared unrecoverable. This is not accounting, it is fiction. For example, in one Vietnam case involving 4 soldiers, DPMO maintains that the 4 were ambushed and killed. They cite a report of 20 to 30 rounds of small arms fire heard in the area to support their conclusion. The facts do not support the DPMO analytical review. Multiple documents, including letters from the U.S. Army to the families of the missing men, all state the gunshots heard involved another squad and did not relate to this incident. This brings us to a series of memos written by Cedric Torreson, a former Senate analyst with the Defense Intelligence Agency, during his tenure as an investigator with the Senate Select Committee. In one memo dated August 1st, 1992, Torreson wrote, "My review of POW MIA case files discloses JTFA and DIA message traffic referring to individuals DOD now has information survived into captivity. Among the servicemen named are the 4 soldiers DPMO insists were ambushed and immediately killed." An earlier memo by Torreson states, "My review of JCRC casualty files has surfaced several messages which list a total of 9 American servicemen Vietnam has acknowledged were captured alive. Named among the 9 is Marine Corporal Gregory Harris, whose family is here today." I know I'm a little bit over, I just got a little bit left. Can I go on?
Very fast. I think what we'll do is we'll go vote right after you finish and come back. Can you
Okay.
be very, very succinct, because I know that we asked everybody to be.
I will wrap it up, yes. As I said, Corporal Harris's family is here today. Yet DPMO insists, in spite of the message that Vietnam acknowledged his capture, DPMO insists Corporal Harris died at his lost location, and that's where they continue to look for him. It's time that we have an honest accounting of these men. We have to review all the documents in the files when we know that men were not lost at their, are still not at their lost location. We have to accept that and move on to new avenues of pursuit. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're going to go vote. We will be back. I really appreciate your patience. How long is this going to be? Okay, we should be back really. It won't be too much longer. Thank you very much.